Testing, testing. All right, babies. Let's do a couple of videos today. Uh, updates, right? I had a thought today, and so I had like a seminar kind of thing where people grill startup founders in order to get more information out of them, and just kind of like expose them to the things they're going to be introduced to when it comes to investment. Super fun. I learned a lot. I tried to take notes, but I genuinely remember the points that just kind of like struck hard with me because naturally that's how you reflect. And I kind of like articulated them in my mind, and I just basically, as I was walking back to see my parents, I was thinking about them. But let's talk about something that happened a couple of days ago. So, I don't know if it's communication. I genuinely lost trust in people. And I said that before at one point. It's like I don't really trust what people say, but I trust for people to believe that's the truth. And so effectively, let me phrase it in a way that could come out as an example as well. Uh, if I ask you if you're fine and you say yes, do I trust that you are fine, or do I trust that you believe you're fine? The easiest thing to do is to basically say, "Oh, he said he's fine. I trust him or her." I don't do that. At best case scenario, it's like it's not about doubt. It's about not putting energy in that doubt. It's like, why the fuck would you want to consider things that are not really interesting? And one of them was basically like trusting that that's how the people actually feel. Now, the fun part about this is like, I'm trying to, it's not about recruiting either. It's just like I want to engage with somebody that's basically able to work with me, or at the very least, like do a job for me. And somebody was a friend of mine that actually had like experience, kind of like mentioned that she's interested. And I was like, sure, why not? Naturally, she said she would do the job. And I had no idea what the job she meant was. Because I thought, okay, look, I can engage with somebody, I can work with somebody, it's amazing. It does like work beautifully when you're talking to somebody because your mind starts approaching things differently. Forgetting how it actually went. A couple of days ago, I actually like messaged her like, I would want to talk to you again to understand like what am I going to be getting out of this. And given the circumstances, like I'm actually like saving money in order for to get that assistance. And I mentioned it. What happened was something like I should have expected. I got one of those WhatsApp messages. There are about 50 something lines. You know when you get a message from like WhatsApp and there's a read more. You can only imagine. It was articulated perfectly. Naturally, it was very emotional. Me, what I do, and all that stuff. But it's funny because, like, when you're actually engaging with people, even trusting what, even even trusting that they believe what they're saying is true, actually resonates more heavily when they reflect on what they said. Yet again, I completely misunderstood how our relationship is going to be, but I just can't seem to get over the bare minimum that I thought should be the case based on whatever we communicated was way too complicated for what she actually said. It's funny because I don't live where she lives. I have no idea. And minimal engagement, like barely once every 2 weeks that we actually discuss. And I figured I talked about the fact that, like, working together would make more sense if we actually at least communicate twice a week. But that was kind of like overdoing it, right? Or at least that's exactly what she expressed. And I was like, okay. And that kind of like, weirdly so, gave me energy. And there's a book I recently read called The Motive. Beautiful book. And The Motive discusses something super beautiful. And it's just basically a tale of two CEOs. One CEO that's actually good at his job. Another CEO that doesn't really understand why his company is not succeeding. And there was a part of it that kind of like got to me. And the overall like gist is like some CEOs take the position as a reward for their hard work. And I'm not sure who here has worked in different like hierarchical structures. But every position comes with its own responsibilities, and it kind of means that the way you do things changes. Most of the time, though, that's not how people interact. But the one thing about that book is a confrontation between the two CEOs. And one CEO is like, I trust my people to kind of like do what they have to do. When the other person is like pinpointing that what's happening is not him trusting his people, his staff to actually get the job done. What he's doing is he's abdicating his own responsibilities and chugging it on them. That word abdicating like lingered with me, but I didn't really understand. It's very much true that everyone needs, like, you can't do it all. Actually, you can, but like, why the fuck would you want to? But the hardest thing is just like trying to, and that's what the book discusses. The hardest thing is trying to kind of like create that harmony or allow that harmony to kind of exist between you and the people working with you in order for them to be able to kind of like relieve a certain tension from the overall organization. Now it's funny because it's still just me as an organization or as a company. I don't like the term solopreneur because I really just if you read the book, you're not a solopreneur. There's you and whoever wrote that book that basically are a part of your idea. But one of the things that clicked with me today is how peaceful I am the less people are in my life. And out of this conversation, or at the very least this latest transaction, I learned a big difference between negotiating something and selling something. I think that's a video on its own. But the gist of it is this: a negotiation is mainly a transfer of responsibility or a transfer of value. There's a transfer of value. Like, you take this, I take this, you take this, I take this, you take this, I take this, and basically those are the values that are being exchanged. It's an exchange of value. Exchange is a much better word to use. While sales is more of a convincing a transfer of value. When you're interacting with people, you can't sell, and it really is like the communication behind negotiation. I'm saying this because I felt like I tried my best to sell the situation to myself and to the person that I was working with as best way as I could, not really considering everything that stood in the way. And I think if I was negotiating it without like the need to get something off of my shoulders, which is basically me abdicating my responsibilities, because that's how it felt, right? Then at the very least, well, I wouldn't have learned this lesson, right? I wouldn't have been able to have this conversation. But ultimately, I just think when you're selling something, you separate yourself from the other person, and that separation always wants you to outsmart them in order for you to get the sale. And I don't think that works when it comes to communication, or at the very least when it comes to negotiation. There is wit when it comes to negotiating, but it's always how to get the other side to agree to your terms, but in a way that they will actually like fulfill them instead of them kind of saying fuck it. That's what recently happened to me. It has nothing to do with the videos of today, but I'm doing a video on it after this. It's a video. Woohoo.